Hey kids, welcome back to Rob's Red Hotspot and another SimCity 4 tutorial. Today we are going to be talking about the 8 most essential mods, tools, and bug fixes for SimCity 4. So first of all, I just want to say that this is not a list of the most fun mods or the most exciting mods. It's a list of mods that will fix your game and allow you to play it and not worry about some of the really awful bugs that were in the Maxis vanilla versions of SimCity 4 Rush Hour Deluxe Edition or what have you. So I would consider all of these mods to be essential. Some more than others, but some are absolutely must-have. Some are really nice to have because they fix bugs in the game that make it less playable overall. So let's get started. Number one is always going to be the network add-on mod. So let's go into Jitney Junction. I'm going to show you a few little network add-on mod pieces. A lot of people think that the network add-on mod is just a bunch of fun transportation stuff. And it is a bunch of fun transportation options that allow you to make more interesting transportation networks and more interesting cities, but it is also a major bug fix that has been I think it's been in development for over a decade. It is what has made SimCity 4 playable to this day. It does all manner of things. So the main thing that it does in terms of bug fixes is it allows you to, first of all, it allows you to use the traffic simulator to its fullest extent. Let's look at the traffic simulator here. So you can see I have this, Jitney Junction, which you will have seen in my earlier tutorial videos. And you can see that this is a fairly big city. There's 100,000 Sims here, but there's another, I think, 200,000 or in each of these other two city tiles that are connected to this tile, and you can see that my traffic is still relatively decent. I don't have too much congestion. Obviously, these little roads down here, are starting to get congested. But if you were playing SimCity 4 Vanilla, all of these streets would be totally congested. You would need to upgrade all these streets to roads. You would need to have avenues running all over the place. You would probably need to have a subway, and this city region is only 600,000 people. How many cities do you know with 600,000 population that have a subway? So the NAM allows you to reconfigure. You can make the settings yourself. Allows you to reconfigure using the built-in traffic simulator to realistic capacities on the road network. It also fixes a bunch of double counting and just bad math that happened on the edges of cities as Sims travel from one city where they live to go work in another city. So it's huge. You need the network add-on mods. Let's just take a look here. I'm going to tab out of the game and let's just take a look at the network add-on mods. Where you download it. I talked about this in my transportation video, so I'm not going to go too much into details. I'm going to do a whole separate video on some of my favorite parts of the network add-on mod. But you get the installer. I would say the best place to get it is Simtropolis, but you can also get it at SimCity 4 Devotion, and I believe ModDV has it as well. The current version is version 36. Version 37 is in development. There is a development candidate out. If you are running a Mac and you're having trouble with running SimCity 4 because of the 64-bit version, version 37 of the NAM supports the Mac, so that's really great. You can now get a very up-to-date version of the network add-on mod. Now, it's a development candidate, so there may still be bugs and kinks in version 37, so I would advise 36 for now, but yeah, there is a version 37 coming out. The other thing I want to add on, there is a little footnote to the network add-on mod. You need to install, and it includes when you download it, you need to install the 4 GB patch. The 4 GB patch allows SimCity 4 to use 4 GB of RAM. It was previously limited to, I don't know, 1 or 2 or less than 4 anyway. So those two I think are essential. If you want to build big cities, you want to have a whole variety of transportation infrastructure, you need the network add-on mods, and it also just makes the game more realistic and it makes it work better. So let's look at some of the fun stuff we get with the NAM, just for a little bit of eye candy. Like I said, I'll do a whole separate video on this, but you see here I've got a railroad trench. I used the NAM bulldozer tools to get a nice level trench, and then I've got these level Let's turn that off. Get these level crossings a bit hard to see because of the skyscrapers, but yeah, I've got these nice like level on slope crossings. That's one thing you can do. I like to play a lot with the rail. Let's see if I have a viaduct in one of these cities. You also get rail viaducts. You get oh yeah, these overpasses come from the network add-on mod as well, so that's good to know. What else have you got? Oh yeah, here's a viaduct. I don't know what the point of this rail viaduct is, but there's one here. So you got this rail viaduct here. There's an avenue underpass. So all sorts of stuff, and this is, I'm not even scratching the surface of what it allows you to do. If you look through the tools here, we've got the street add-on mod, which lets you do all sorts of, this is all part of the NAM, this comes with the NAM. You've got pedestrian mods, diagonal streets, which the game can't normally do, these cool avenue intersections where you get like roundabouts and stuff. You've got all sorts of things, like this is elevated rail over avenue. You've got like all sorts of fun tools, and like I said, it's not just about these. It's not just about these tools. It's also about a rebalance of the transportation in the game that fixes it. So yeah, I consider it to be essential. I think you guys should get it as soon as you install. As soon as you install SimCity 4, the first thing you should do is install the network add-on mod and the 4GB patch, which comes with it. Number 2 is yet another bug fix type app. Not nearly as exciting as network add-on mod, but very, very important. SC4 Fix, and you'll find it on Simtropolis. It's very, very simple to install. You throw it into your plugins folder in SimCity 4, and that's it. What it does is it basically prevents file corruption in your save games. It resolves a problem with some of the network add-on mod pieces where if you hover over them, it crashes the game, so it prevents a lot of crash to desktop, and it's just generally a stability fix. And so again, this is I would consider essential for running SimCity 4. If you start playing around with the NOM and you start to have crashes, you might lose a lot of progress. If your city tile goes corrupt, it's pretty much game over. What you'll see, if a city tile goes corrupt, it will look like a blank city tile. I'm not going to make one here, but it won't even, like this tile here, let's say you start building on it, and your save file goes corrupt, it's going to be an empty grass tile. It'll look like this, except grass, right? So you lose not only the city that you've just built, but you lose all the terrain. There's a big hole in your region. It is like, it's, honestly, I had that happen back in the past before I knew about the SC4 Fix, and for me, I can tell you straight up that I have simply just deleted whole regions because I lost. If you lose a tile like this, it's just like the whole city just falls apart. You can't. There's no way to rebuild it, right? Or it would be just so much work to rebuild it that I wouldn't have the patience for it. Number 3, yet another kind of dry and boring one, but very, very useful. And this has to do with the launch options in Steam. So when you install SimCity 4 Deluxe, after you've installed your NOM and you've got your SC4 Fix going, I would highly advise you to go into, you right-click here, you go into Properties, and you go into Launch Options, assuming you're launching it out of Steam. You can also do this by right-clicking the executable file in Windows and doing it that way. I'm not sure on the Mac. I think you would probably use the Aspire version on Steam, and I believe you can use the launch options. I'm not sure. But there's a few things that we do here, and I will put these in. I will put links to the description to all these mods, and I will also put this exactly as it is in the description, which is what I would advise you paste in there. So first of all, custom resolution enabled allows you to pick a custom resolution. So I've got it at 1920 1080p, which is the size of my monitor and the size at which the resolution at which I record these videos. Intro off turns off the intro video at the beginning, which apparently has been known to cause some issues with the game stability. It's also just handy to be able to boot up the game and not have to watch the video. CPUCount 1. SimCity 4 was made in 2003. It is not designed for multi-core CPUs. So what this does is it forces SimCity 4 to only use one core. I will, there's a footnote, I will say that there's also a SimCity 4 launcher out there, which is an alternative to this, which will allow you to set these options in a nice little window. I don't use the launcher mostly because I'm a little bit concerned about some of the autosave features and stuff like that. SimCity 4 launcher looks like a very good option as well. So depending on what you're looking to get out of it, usually this will solve your problem. This will work. This will solve your problem, and you won't have to worry about getting a launcher or anything like that. But you can also look into the launcher. I might post a link in the description to the launcher as well, so that you can explore that option. Next up is the save warning mod. Once again, another dry and boring mod that's made by Cyclone Boom, who is a regular Simtropolis contributor and who's a very friendly contributor to Simtropolis. The save warning. So what's the save warning mod about? Well, let's go into the game for a second here, and let's go into, I don't know, Pleasant Valley. Pleasant Valley, and let's say that we do a little work in here. We you know, I don't know, we draw a highway or something, and we want to go back out to the region and move on to another city in the same region, okay? So there are a few options here. This save button here, save city, clicking this just saves the city, right? So that's fine. There's no problem with that. There we go. Now, clicking on this, you'll see that here it says option disabled. That is the save warning mod. Now, I have it set to disable it because there are two options normally. This is the exit to region button, and normally it's save and exit, or exit without saving. Saving and exiting to region has been long known to cause file corruption. So what happens is you click this button and you exit to region, and then when you arrive in the region, what you see, instead of this beautiful nice agricultural city with an awesome county fair, what you see instead of that is a blank tile with all this gone. These hills are not there anymore. Everything's gone. Your file is corrupted. There's no way to get it back, okay? SimCity 4, one of the flaws of SimCity 4 is that it's not like when you're playing Skyrim and you can have multiple saves on the same file or whatever, where you just go back one save. SimCity 4 doesn't do that. It saves over the region, and so if you get a file, if you get a corrupted city tile, then you are screwed. So this mod doesn't allow you to do that, okay? What you do if you want to save is you hit this button, or you hit Control S, and then you go here and you exit without saving. So it's a two-step process, but it will save your cities. The same applies to the save and quit button. Save and quit button can corrupt city tiles, so we don't use it. You don't have to install this mod, the save warnings mod. Let's take a look at the mod here. You do not have to install this mod, but it will prevent you from misclicking. You can also see that there are two options here. So this is the one that I have set up so that it's literally impossible to click that. And then there's another option where it says save with potential corruption and exit to region. So, you know, either one, it doesn't make a difference, right? You also don't need to use it at all if you're just getting into the habit of using the two-step save system. But I would highly advise installing it, because even just accidentally clicking that and ruining your city would be really dreadful. So, talking about saving, the next mod, number 5 on my list, is not a mod at all. It's not even related to SimCity 4. It's just a tool that you can use for SimCity 4, and it's for Windows, but you could find a similar tool for Mac, I'm sure. Maybe someone will post something in the comments. It is called Karen's Replicator. And it's Corey from Simtropolis who recently introduced me to this. It is wonderful. Karen's Replicator is a generic backup utility. What you do is, let's run it. Okay, so what you do when you open up Karen's Replicator is, I've set one up here, SC4 backup. I've only got one set up right now, but you could set up multiple. And if I look at edit job here, basically what Karen's Replicator does, and it works on a schedule, so I've set it to run every day at 1 a.m. You don't have to have it scheduled either, you can run it manually. But I basically have it copy my region folder to a separate backup folder in a separate destination. And the reason for that is that, as I said, SimCity 4 doesn't really allow you to have multiple saves of one city, so this is a fail-safe in case of file corruption. We've already taken steps with the save warnings mod and the SC4 Fix to prevent file corruption, but just backing up your region. Of course, you can just manually back up your region. I love this. One of the things I've done here, I won't show you all the settings right now, but one of the things I've done here is, just exit this, I've actually made a desktop Plantation Bay backup. It allows you to create a shortcut so that I can just double-click an icon on my desktop, and it automatically runs the backup so that I can back up the region before I start playing in it. And I think this is an amazing program that is really worthwhile for SimCity 4. You could also have it do multiple backups if you want to maybe go back to how your city was because you screwed up or because you don't like the results of something you did. So Karen's Replicator, it's an awesome piece of free software. You could also use it for other things in your computer, but yeah, super cool. Very well designed. It doesn't take up any space at all. It's just wonderful. Next up is yet another bug fix. This time we're talking more about actual content in the game, and that is the industrial high-tech missing jobs fix, or the IHT bug, as you'll know, as you will likely know it. So let's open up a city here with some IHT. We'll exit without saving, and in the vanilla game, and this includes if you've put the network Addon mod or other patches, none of them fix this. You need to get the IHT bug fix. In the vanilla game, once you start to get some rich sims, like, say, these folks, High Wealth Residential, they'll start to demand high-tech industry as well as commercial offices, like this guy, right? Now, what happens is it gives you demand, like the demand for high-tech will show up here on your RCI indicator, and I've got lots here actually right now, and the buildings will build, but the high-wealth sims won't actually go and work in the high-tech. So you'll have a bunch of jobless high-wealth sims, and this is something you won't necessarily notice if you're working mostly with small cities. But if you are, once your cities start to get bigger, you'll see, you know, why can I build an unlimited amount of high-tech industry and it never seems to create full employment among my high-wealth sims, and that's because of the IHT bug fix. So let's go back and look at the mod again. You know, you're going to see a lot on the forums about the IHT fix, and a lot of people will tell you that you need to DAT pack it into your SimCity for data, like the main data files of the game. That is apparently, and don't ask me why, I don't understand the technical side behind it, but it's not necessary. So you literally just have to unzip this into your plugins folder and it will fix it. So very easy to install, and again, all of the bugs we've talked about so far, I would not recommend playing the game until you've gotten at least through this is the 6th recommendation I've made, until you've gotten at least to this one here. Number 7, so the Opera House fix. I don't have an Opera House in this city, but let's just cheat one in quickly. So the Opera House, really cool building, looks like the Paris Opera. The Opera House, the way it works normally is it does not have this slider, okay? And it does not have a maximum number of patrons, it does not have a budget. The Opera House in the normal game doesn't have anything adjustable, and I think it has a maximum of like 750 or something. And what happens is if you work up all your way to build the Opera House. So to get the Opera House, you need to have like a certain number of high wealth sims in your city, and then you'll get the prompt to build the Opera House. The problem with the Opera House is that because it doesn't allow you to adjust the budget and it doesn't have a slider, when the Opera House gets full, it affects the education of the entire city. If we underfund this college, these apples will go down and the school rating for the city will go down. Well, because the Opera House is the only thing of its type in the neighborhood, if it's basically down here because it's perpetually maxed out or over capacity, then it drags the whole city down in terms of education. So this is a pretty important fix. I would say it's pretty high priority, especially for bigger cities. If you don't have this fix, then you really shouldn't build the Opera House. The final mod I am going to talk about in this tutorial video is this seaport mod, the BSC Functional Seaports. So BSC Functional Seaports is, of all of these mods, the most complicated to install. It is fairly important, though. So the Maxis Seaport looks something like this. Okay? Yours may look slightly different from mine because I've got a couple of texture mods installed, I think, but that is what the Maxis Seaport looks like. Now, what's the problem with the Maxis Seaport? I talked about this in my transportation video, but I will talk about it again here. When you build a big industrial city, you use up industrial demands, but what happens is you hit a demand cap, right? Now, a demand cap will basically be something like you cannot, you can't build more than 50,000 industrial jobs or something like that, right? Now, how do we get rid of the industrial demand cap? Industrial demand caps are raised by freight moving off of the map, okay? So we can probably see here, we'll maybe get some freight. Yeah, there, those blue lines there, that's freight moving off the map, right? So for every freight truck that goes up the map, the demand cap is raised, I believe, by the same number of jobs. So here we've got 10 freight trucks, that's 10 more jobs that the city can generate, okay? Now, the original Maxis Seaport, freight goes to the seaport, it goes off the map, but it does not raise the demand cap. So if you do not use a seaport mods, you should not build seaports because they will, rather than encourage industry, they will actually discourage it. So they're doing the opposite of what they're supposed to do in the game. Now, BSC Functional Seaports. Let's take a look at that mod. It is a very complicated mod to install. It's a real hassle to install, to be perfectly honest. And the reason it's complicated is that there are tons and tons and tons of dependencies. I don't see, looking for the dependency list here. Ah, here we are. The README. I will post links to all of this in the description. The README is in the download file when you get it. So if you look down here, you are going to see tons and tons and tons of dependencies all down here. Look at this. Okay, each one of these dependencies is something that you have to install, and that's a big hassle. So some of you might be saying, well, fuck, I'm not going to bother with that. And to be honest, I didn't bother with this for quite some time. One day I sat down and I said, okay, I'm going to spend a whole afternoon, I'm just going to install all this, and I did. And now I have functional seaports. However, I am not going to suggest that you do that. This guide is aimed at people who are just starting to play the game, or who want to fix some bugs that have been nagging at their game for a long time, and maybe you don't want to sign up to download all this. Okay. Also, some of these dependencies, these links don't work anymore. You have to go track them down. It's not super fun. So, what I have provided is a link to an excellent post on the SC4 Devotion forum by Whatever Minds. The images don't appear anymore, but it's called Seaports Revealed, the unofficial guide to BSC Functional Seaports. Now, what BSC Functional Seaports does, let's take a quick look at it here. You can see I have got this beautiful BLS City Center ports. What BSC Functional Seaports does is it gives you all these options for ports, right? And that's what require all the dependencies. So the dependencies are basically all these little buildings and all this stuff here. Some of these are like transit enabled, like they'll have little rail segments coming through them and stuff like that. So you get this whole list of really amazing seaports, right? Like we got a big oil port. If you look at my Plantation Bay City, you'll see. Oh, that one's backwards. I plopped it wrong. But basically, you all these really cool ports. So if you want to get all these cool ports, it does require those dependencies. However, if you just want to have functional seaports, if you want this seaport, for example, the Maxis Seaport, to function, then I suggest you go to the Seaports Revealed guide here by Whatever Mind, and he basically goes into every single port that's provided by the mod. You can actually still see these photos. I don't know what is up with PhotoBucket. Does that even exist anymore? It's an old post, but everything in here is still true. So basically, he goes through every single seaport, and he goes through them from the simplest to the most complex in terms of the number of dependencies necessary. So you can see here the Maxis Seaport. It actually he will strongly, he or she, sorry, I don't know whether that's I don't know what that person's gender is, but he strongly recommends against using the seaport. The reasons he recommends against using it are essentially cosmetic. So if you want to start playing around with seaports and play around with designing cities that have seaports, there's no reason not to use this. It just won't look very pretty. It might, like, you know, have some weird graphical effects. And you can see probably the one I just plopped down has some weird graphical effects. Sometimes the boat will kind of hover in weird places, and you know, but it's functional, okay? And all these mods I'm suggesting, like here we've got a crane kind of floating in the water, and you know, you can see some props are kind of misplaced and stuff, and that's, you know, it's functional though, okay? And then you see things like this Mr. Trusage local seaport, which is very similar to the Maxis one. And it has multiple growth stages, so as your city grows, it grows, kind of like the airports do. And this one only has 5 dependencies. Okay, so if you want to use these really awesome seaport mods, but you want to get into it slowly, I would recommend going to this page and just starting. You know, first of all, when you install the plugin, it's going to place all these seaports in your queue here, and you know, I know that a few of these, like I'm even missing some dependencies on a couple of these. There's one here. I know there's one in here somewhere that's, where is it? No, I think it's one of the rural ports. Yeah. So if you install a mod and you're missing dependencies, that's what you'll get. It's a big brown box like that. Okay, and that's because I'm missing one of the dependencies of it. I'm pretty sure I can go and get that. I've never bothered to get it because I don't really use that seaport, but you know, I can probably easily figure out which one I'm missing at this point. But so you will have them all in your menu. You just won't be able to use them all. But I highly advise installing the BSC Functional Seaports mod, and at the very least that means that you can use this standard Maxis port and it will work. You can also use, with only installing 5 dependencies, which are very easy to get, you can also use the Mr. Trusage local seaport, which is another version of the Maxis one, which I can't seem to plop down right now. But yeah, so I highly advise that mods. So I've gone through eight mods in this video. And all of those mods will basically get you a functional game where you'll have no major glitches of any kind, in my opinion, that are preventing you from using all of the tools in the game. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. I will be back with more tutorial videos soon. I'm hoping to do one on my favorite network add-on mod pieces, which is going to get its own video. I will also do another video on some of my favorite buildings from SimCity 4. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Ciao.